Hello, hello. Welcome to Mostly Superheroes. It's Monday, January 4th. We're doing something new every day in 2021, and we're kicking it off right now. This is Mostly Superheroes. Welcome, one and all, to our now weekly live show from Instagram. That's right, we're coming at you live, and we're going to release this as a podcast as well. Those that have been listening and watching in 2020, excuse me, I want to say thank you. I've already got a typo in this deck. It says 2020. It's actually 2021. Happy New Year, first of all, and welcome to the show. So you might have some questions. If you've been watching and you've been listening, and you're like, what's your format now? What's Mostly Superheroes going to be? What's it going to look like? Well, if you're following along and you're here on Instagram, first of all, welcome. And I have our schedule pulled up here. So if you haven't seen our schedule yet, it's a brand new schedule. Gives you Sunday through Saturday, 7 days a week, something new every day from Mostly Superheroes. Now, I've said this before, coming out of 2020, don't expect a podcast episode every day, but you are going to get some more podcast content. For example, today we're live on Instagram. This is going to be kind of an abbreviated version of our show. All right, we're going to be doing some What You Watchin' and then some news and rumors. So this will be like your Monday check-in on what happened maybe over the weekend or towards the end of the week. And we will release this one a little sooner than our premiere show, which you're still going to get. So the same episodes you've been following along with, myself, Giggler, PC Mike, Adam. If you guys remember Adam, he's going to be coming back on the show from time to time. That show's still going to be happening, and we're going to do it the same way. You're going to get your full run of show, your fan mail, what you watching, news and rumors, and of course the meat. Will feature some type of show or movie every single week, and that's not going away. If anything, we're just committing to at least one per week. Those are going to come on Thursdays. Now, there's a lot more going on in the schedule. I don't want to just sit here and go day by day, but if you want to check it out, it's on our homepage at mostlysuperheroes.com, and there's a lot happening. So we're excited to do these kind of in-between shows, give you even more content. If you're available to join, it's going to be, right now we're doing 12 noon Central Mondays on Instagram. If you're one of these folks that likes live shows and you're curious when our next one will be, that will be Wednesday on Twitch, same time. Yeah. I know there's a lot of Twitch users out there, and Twitch has been picking it up. So we're gonna be on there too. Now, are we gonna mix in some Facebook Live, maybe some YouTube? Yeah, probably from time to time. Those will be more like ad hoc, but either way, get over there to mostlysuperheroes.com and check out our brand new schedule. We're excited to be with you guys even more in 2021. Next up, just released yesterday, I believe, just dropped yesterday on Sunday on January 3rd. Excited to announce I was a guest on the Jock and Nerd podcast. Yeah, absolutely. Give it up. I don't know if you've listened to this podcast. I have. They've been around for, I'm going to say over like 6 years plus. I've been a listener for about 5 years. I didn't realize they had just started. I had just gotten into podcasting myself when I heard of the Jock and Nerd podcast, and they are very much so an inspiration, partly an inspiration of us being here today and us even having Mostly Superheroes. So that's episode 362. They keep their tally going. It's Jock and Nerd. You can go to their website, jockandnerdpodcast.com. Just Google, search Jock and Nerd in your favorite podcast app, and it looks like they do new weekly content on Sundays and a lot of exclusive content via their Patreon page. But they're all over the place too. You can get them on Instagram, Twitter, and I've shared all their stuff. So we actually broke down Wonder Woman 1984. Just came out on Christmas Day, and we talked about it. We talked all about it. So if you're wanting to hear some reviews on Wonder Woman 1984, and you're a fan of this show, well, you can still hear me break it open with some fellow nerds, and I know for a fact you're going to enjoy the Jock and Nerd podcast. So get over and check them out. So with that, let's get into what you watching.
What you watching?
What you watching? This is when we talk about what we're watching. We want to hear about what you're watching, so let us know. This week we're going to talk about a few things that I've been watching. I've got them kind of up on the screen right now for you. The size of the picture is basically if I liked it more than, if the picture's smaller. So Sopranos is looks like the smallest, but it's actually Lord of the Rings is the one that I like the least out of what we're talking about today. So starting with that, I did watch Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring last night. I've seen it before. I grew up watching the movies. I was in middle school, I think, when these came out. So what is this, like 2005-ish? And I remember the hype. They're one of the book movies, which I'm a Harry Potter fan. And I anytime they can take a big story that's in a book and put it on screen, it gets me excited. I remember being excited about this when it came out. And I was actually inspired to watch this. My friends Chris and Casey were saying they just watched it recently. So Carrie and I decided, let's put it on. She had never seen it, and it had been probably since, I was probably 10 years old the last time I saw it. So it was almost kind of like a fresh watch, which got me to be like, okay, well, let's just see what the story is. They put this on screen. I'm going to be honest, guys. It is a pretty boring movie. I'm probably going to offend a lot of Lord of the Ring fans out there. But I, watching it fresh as an adult, and especially like the last 15 years of movies that have come out in between this movie coming out, it just I felt like it kind of fell short. I felt like I'm supposed to care a lot more about a lot of the characters that die in this first film, and I know that the people that are diehard fans that read the books, they're probably they feel more about these characters. They're ingrained in the story. I get it. I've been the person that's read the book, watched the movie, and there is a difference. You're a bigger fan. So Carrie and I, my fiance and I, we've never read the books. I'm not like a deep nerd on this. I watched this as a movie viewer. I'm going to give it a quick rating using an R 4-point scale. I'm going to give it a 2.9. Take that for what you will. I'll throw it a clap because I think that's a pretty good score. If you remember our score around here, to break that 3.0 threshold, you really got to get me to come back and watch this thing again. I don't know that I'll watch this movie again. I'm even hesitant to see if I'll watch the next two films, in the trilogy. Now because I started it and now I've rated the first one and I have this podcast, okay, yeah, I'm probably going to watch it. Next up, Sopranos. Watching The Sopranos. Oh, before I continue, we got some chat happening in Instagram. Podcastagram says they're watching House of Cards. Hell yeah, I'll give it up. That's a show right there. I'm not sure where you are in the process, but obviously it gets wild with all the news with the lead, that Frank character, and I won't get into anything because I don't know where you are in the show, but I will say that last season was very much different, and I haven't really thought about the show much since. Just I feel like that's one of those things that kind of was great and haven't really talked about it a lot on this show. So thanks for that comment, Podcastagram. Appreciate you. We'll always feature those when we can on the show. So Sopranos, I'm on season 2. And we're just pushing it through. It's been a lot of fun watching it so far. I will say that I've said this to PC Mike on our show. He's a huge fan of The Sopranos, and he says it's in his top 5. And I have no doubt. Like I do love the show. I just wrapped up season 2. We started season 3 actually yesterday. Follow along with that schedule I mentioned. Sundays is our What You Watching day. I'll say that like Sundays are probably before the pandemic, before we were all home so often, Sunday was still like the main, like it's always been like the watch day. I feel like it's also like your laundry day, right? And on Sundays we're gonna continue to do the what you watching hashtag. So get on there, see our social, and you can see what we're watching. I posted all the stuff that we're talking about here. Excited to see what comes next on The Sopranos. I think it's been great so far. We'll definitely give it a rating when we finish it up. And then last, certainly not least, actually kind of saved the best for last year, Sharp Objects on HBO. Got to give credit where credit is due here. This was a recommendation from PC Mike. But honestly, I think we've all kind of started to figure out, HBO is just pumping out some great content. Sopranos is on HBO. Both of these images are from there. And this image from Lord of the Rings is actually from Hulu. That's where we watched it. So thank you for those images, HBO and Hulu. Sharp Objects, man. We just finished it up. Amy Adams. This is also close to home. Not just the turn of speech. I'm talking about literally close to home. This takes place in my home state of Missouri, in a fictional town in the Boot Hill, as we call it, the very southwest eastern tip of our state. And this is a small town murder. It's about these young kids that are dying, and Amy Adams is this reporter who has moved to the big city, which is St. Louis. Any Missouri kid or anybody that's lived within an hour or two of St. Louis, they live much further south than that. It's probably about 6 to 7 hours, more like it. This was very much like our childhood. Small towns. You want to live in the big city. St. Louis is nearby. They reference the Arch quite a bit, so there was a lot of stuff for local folks. If you're a local person, Missouri, St. Louis, you're gonna get a kick out of a lot of this. But the story is great. It takes a page out of a few different kind of timeline storytelling types. I first think of like Memento. It's not a backwards watch by any means, but it is definitely, every episode is chopped up into, say, these 20 sequences or scenes, some of which might only be like, a half a second long, where she's driving a car and then she gets a flash from her past or something like that. It's a lot. It keeps you guessing. It's a very interesting way to tell a story. And it was a lot of fun. I was guessing until the absolute very last scene. I'll say that. Obviously we keep it spoiler free around here. If you have not seen this, you're going to have to go over and check it out. Again, that's on HBOMax, and we'll keep you, posted. I think it looked like to me there would be a season 2. I don't know if they've officially announced that. But again, we're going to keep it spoiler free. We'll probably revisit it during our big episode this week. But more to come on Sharp Objects. I'll give you my rating right now because I have seen it beginning to end. I'm going to give it a 3.4. It was a really good watch. It's one that I might actually enjoy watching again because there's a lot going on in the story. It's one that you almost need to rewatch, honestly. All right, with that, what you watching? Let us know what you're watching. You can comment on our social, send us a message at mostlysuperheroes.com/contact. We will happily feature you on the program. Next up,
News and rumors.
News and rumors. Can't probably guess it. We're going to give you news and rumors. Really, today's all news. Not going to have so much in the rumor department. Again, this is kind of a abbreviated version of our show. We're not going to get too deep, and I wanted to keep it somewhat high level coming into 2021 and just talk about movies for a minute. Just kind of, we got a lot of things that are getting ready to happen on Disney. They made their big announcement at their Investors Day. We have a whole episode on that. I think it's around 23, 24. One of our later episodes, we just went through all those announcements, so go check that out. And Phase 4 of the MCU is kicking off January 15th with WandaVision. I mean, I can't even put into words how excited I am for this. This is so great. But today I thought, on this Instagram Live, let's talk about the movies in 2021. Big shout out to comicbook.com. The show is unofficially brought to you by comicbook.com today. This part, anyway. Again, unofficially. No direct affiliation. Just it's where I get my comic book news. They are so great about organizing their stuff by the right franchise. Really clean website. Big fan of Chris Killian and Brandon Davis over there. Watch their videos all the time. Definitely check them out on all the socials. And this is a great article by Jamie Lovett with Comic Book. Just released 2 days ago, January 2nd. All the Marvel and DC movies. So we're going straight from the article and giving you some of the top films of Marvel and DC that are coming through. This is going to be a mix and match, so there's no, don't worry, we're not staying in one franchise. It's more high level in order of timeline, what's coming out. First up, Morbius. It's a Sony flick, and it stars Jared Leto, Matt Smith, Adriana Arjona, Jared Harris, Al Madrigal, and Tyrese Gibson. It's a Sony film, and it's coming out March 19th. All right, so level set again. Sony, Marvel, it's kind of a mess right now in terms of who's going to be in what. Sony has made it difficult to play in the past with some deals around Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We weren't going to get the Spider-Man from that we know is Tom Holland anymore. If you guys remember, a year or two back, they tried, there was this big scare. Okay, well, now they've gone the other direction. They're announcing all these different crossovers coming into the MCU, just to kind of give you a heads up if you don't know what I'm talking about. They've announced Jamie Foxx's Electro from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. Those are going to be, he's going to be in this Spider-Man Tom Holland film. So it's kind of like that deal where Sony and Disney now can play in the same sandbox. We think that Morbius is in the same boat because if you remember the trailer for Morbius, there were a couple things. There was a Spider-Man painting of the Sam Raimi suit on a graffiti on a wall. And then the big thing was Michael Keaton, who played Vulture in the Tom Holland Spider-Man Homecoming. That character, Vulture, Keaton's Vulture, is in the trailer of Morbius. So, what will this movie be? How will it tie in with Venom, which we'll get there. It's on this list. We'll see. So, that's coming up in March. Next up, a movie we've been waiting on. Well, it's going to be releasing May 7th. We're talking Black Widow. So now we're in the MCU. Originally slated to be the breakout Phase 4 film. Was supposed to release, I believe, in May of 2020. Here we are 1 full year later. So, if you're an MCU cat like us, and you're like, oh, wait, where is everything else falling? We're going to do that in our big episode this week. If Andy and Mike hear this, or you're watching, get ready, guys. That's going to be, I don't know if it'll be the meat. It might be just the news and rumors section, because I want to go through everything in the MCU. We're less than 2 weeks away from WandaVision kicking us off. But eventually, in May 7th, this will fall on the schedule. Scarlett Johansson's film, also starring Florence Pugh, David Harbour, just to remind you, O.T. Fajmanlay, I don't know, I'm probably butchering that, William Hurt, Ray Winstone, Rachel Weisz, directed by Kate Shortland. This is going to come out, so we're going to get that Black Widow story finally. A little bit of a spoiler here, if you don't want to know about potentially what happens in the film. There was a spoiler about Florence Pugh, who plays her sister in the film. Here's the spoiler. She's going to be playing a role in upcoming MCU projects, such as Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I think that maybe Hawkeye, right? Because that's the same world. So excited for it to finally get it. It's crazy that it's been pushed back a year. It's crazy where it's falling in line of the MCU schedule at this point. And it's got me kind of curious about what else it could bring to the table other than just being this, I guess, cool Marvel Black Widow movie, which it might just be that, it might just be this really sick movie, looks good, you have a good time, and then they hand off a couple characters from the movie to see them again. Will we see Scarlett Johansson again, I think is the biggest question, and we just don't know. Next up, bouncing back to Sony. Again, we're going in order here of release. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Yeah, I hesitated on pushing the applause, but I am excited for this, if I'm being honest. Few big things, just to remind you. Andy Serkis is the director. Of course, Tom Hardy coming back. Woody Harrelson coming in, going to be playing Carnage. Michelle Williams, Reed Scott, Naomi Harris. Now, this is Sony as well, so this is where I said I'm excited. I'll tell you why in a minute. June 25th is the date. So look for June 25th, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. How are all these going to be released? Are they going to be at home? Are they going to be theaters and at home? I think some of this is yet to be seen. But why I'm excited is what will Sony lend from Venom or vice versa? Can something from the MCU be in this film? Will they tie in Spider-Man somehow? Will, is there going to be a multiverse component to this? Like, I hope that the people over at Sony are keeping this strongly in mind. Like, I want to see this great Venom movie. But, like, for me, it's at this point, it's about, like, how do you tie it in to everything else that's going on with the MCU? So excited for it. Excited to see Tom Hardy back again. Hopefully he eats, like, less trash and fish in this one. I think there was a lot, too much of that. Got a little wild sometimes. Like, he was really just running around being, like, real sweaty. Hopefully this time he's got a real handle on being Venom. I think that'd be cool to see a Tom Hardy just being confident. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more fight scenes that are a lot more, hopefully, coordinated and not so just black goo exploding into different shapes. But I'm excited. Excited again. We'll see it. Here we go. Let's get over to MCU for a minute. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Still don't know a ton about this, but I know that it will directly affect and play in the timeline of the overall MCU. So for that alone, I'm excited. Shang-Chi's directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. Cast Simu Liu, Aquafina, Tony Leung, Fala Chen, Meng Zhang. I'm probably butchering all these, but I still want to give it a shot. Florian Montanu, Ronnie Chang, and Michelle Yeoh. And again, this is Marvel Studios. This one's coming out July 9th. So a couple months after Black Widow. The main thing to keep in mind, folks, if you're an MCU fan, like we are, big time on this show, this is, there's MCU shows happening in between all these films. Again, we're going to tackle that in our big episode later this week. Okay, moving into the DC world. Real quick, sidebar. If you're curious about what's happening in the DC universe and the DC EU and how things are talking and playing with each other, we just talked about that in the Jock and Nerd podcast, their most recent episode, the Wonder Woman episode. We talked about what's his name, Walter Hermana, I think, is the lead dude over at DC with HBO. I believe I'm getting that correct. If not, go back to that episode and the fellas break it down and break it wide open about how these, how is the Snyder Cut gonna fit, and like what's this Justice League gonna look like, and what are the other shows, and what are these, what about Pattinson? If these are some questions you have, you're going to enjoy the episode for sure. So get over and check out Jock and Nerd podcast. All right, so Suicide Squad. The movie is back. It's coming out August 6th. They got studio listed here as DC Films. And it's James Gunn. Very exciting. He's our Suicide Squad guy. Margot Robbie is in this. Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Peter Capaldi, Sylvester Stallone, and Viola Davis. So I'm excited for this. They announced a spinoff of this movie already, which I think is supposed to be filming like right about now. This part, didn't they say early 2021? Don't quote me on that. But Peacemaker, if you're looking at our screen here, Peacemaker is he's the one with the big shiny helmet. That's John Cena. They announced a whole spinoff series just for that. So I'm excited for that. Excited to see what looks like a fresh take on the film. Margot Robbie is in it. She is reprising her role of Harley Quinn. But, is this a brand new film? I think it takes place in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of fun characters that I can see on this screen. A lot of stuff I've seen from like the CW, like the Thinker, I think is in this. Captain Boomerang is in it too. I can see him. So they brought him back. They got it looks like the soldier from Suicide Squad is in it again. Same actor. I forget his name. Probably said it here, listed, I'm sure. Either way, really excited to see what Gunn does with this. The movie looks wacky. I know that in some of the behind the scenes interviews, Gunn has said it's the most fun thing he's ever worked on. And again, this is who made Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's got me excited. DC, I've got kind of a sour taste in my mouth right now, just with that Wonder Woman film. Again, get over to Jock and Nerd if you want to hear all about it. Back to the MCU. The Eternals. I'm clapping inside, but I just don't know a lot about it, so I don't want to mislead you guys to think I'm a big Eternals comic book follower. But here's some names for you. Directed by Chloe Zhao. Cast Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani. He's from, I believe, Silicon Valley, and a whole bunch of others. Kent Harington from Game of Thrones, of course. And this is Marvel Studios. It's coming out November 5th. It's just so hard to tell you about what this movie's going to be. But I'll tell you what's exciting is all of the shows and movies that will happen to set up this movie, The Eternals. And we're going to talk about the show later this week, but Loki, Tom Hiddleston is coming back playing Loki in a TV series. I think that a lot of what happens there will hopefully, at least some part of it will take place in the Eternals, whether it's multiverse jumping, galaxy jumping, but who knows? They can tie in any of this. And there's so much news about Marvel and Sony and all these Spider-Mans and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. So we'll see. Very excited for it. And then Spider-Man Far From Home. We already talked about, Spider-Man Far From Home sequel. Yeah, excited about it. I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I was a little nervous whenever there was news about him maybe not coming back. I think a lot of that is just studios keeping us engaged with it, so hopefully they weren't just tricking us. But either way, he's here, and hopefully he's here to stay. Zendaya will be back as well, playing MJ, Mary Jane. We also have Jacob Batalon. Marissa Tomei coming back as Aunt May. Jamie Foxx is in this cast list now, his Electro. And then, here's the fun stuff. Benedict Cumberbatch from Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange, I should just say, really. He's going to be in the film. I know that they had spotted him on set in Atlanta where they're filming this. The studio comic book lists it as Sony Pictures / Marvel Studios. That's right, yeah. Because, again, Spider-Man is still this Sony entity. But the film is coming out December 17th. So that's the... it's kind of wild. You're coming out December 17th. Have they still not put a title on this thing? I'm very much excited for it, but again, we're talking about a year from now, essentially, and a lot of Marvel stuff in between. So kind of hard to speculate, but definitely cool to see MCU stuff on the schedule again after this 2020 of things being held up and not filming. Hopefully they have figured out ways to do this safely and can make these films and get them out on time this year. The last thing we all want to see is another pushback of dates. I really don't expect that, but what have you expected in the last year? All right, so that's news and rumors. Next up, that music means it's time for what's coming up. I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing I'm excited for, if you can't tell, I feel like I've made it crystal clear. The MCU Phase 4 is coming out in 2 weeks. This is the big stuff. This is WandaVision, man. We're about to see Vision and the Scarlet Witch, and who knows who else we'll see on screen again. And I'll tell you right now, after watching We're going to talk about this week too. It'll be the meat, I believe, and it's on my list right now. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian on the show. We're going to talk about the finale. We talked about every episode leading up to the finale, so you can, bet your ass. We are going to talk about it. Sorry if it's a little late. We were off during the holidays, at least mostly. What I've seen them do, them being Disney, and having Jon Favreau on that team, and just knowing that, like, I feel like I picture Jon Favreau and Feige just still, getting coffee and just talking and making sure that everything is just buttoned up and on track, just like they did with the Marvel Phase 1's, the Infinity Saga, really, all the first 3 phases. You talk about just a masterpiece and a beautiful story from the first movie to the last, and now we're picking up the second saga, the 4th phase. I mean, we're talking, 12, 13 plus years of movie making and, 20 plus films, and now we got all these shows. I just feel confident about it. I feel excited about it. I feel grateful, just like we're going to see some hopefully outstanding storytelling, and we're going to be talking all about it on this show. So if you're an MCU fan, you need to be excited and definitely be joining us because we are excited as well. Just to keep you up to speed with what's coming kind of in the short term, you can see it on our schedule at mostlysuperheroes.com. But Tuesdays, we do drop Mostly Superheroes, the music show. That's where we talk about the movies and the music behind them. That's available on Spotify, powered by Anchor. And why is it only on Spotify? Why is it powered by Anchor? Well, because I'm able to bring in the actual music from the movies, and you can play this thing kind of like a radio station. Or like if you're doing your laundry and you just want some fun tidbits about, say, Black Panther. Well, that's the last movie we did. So we did the top 7 films. We did, we usually are referencing an article or something that has already been put together. Or I'll give you my raw thoughts on the film, of course, or give you my top favorite songs of a movie. TheDailyOrange.com provided us our last article for Black Panther. So thanks to those guys. Go check it out. It's on Spotify. Search The Music Show. And it does have Mostly Superheroes on there, so you can kind of see, like, oh, this is the spinoff. And then lastly, like I said, Mandalorian finale. So we will talk about it on this week's episode with PC Mike and the Giggler. So plenty more coming. In the meantime, be sure to listen to our weekly podcast, Spotify, Apple, Pandora, all that. If you're not already, we're all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And then we do video content on YouTube. So just search Mostly Superheroes, subscribe to our channel. And we are also on Twitch, and we'll be live there on Wednesday. So that's 2 days from now. If you're listening to this and watching, we appreciate you. It's an exciting time to be a fan of the show. It's early days, but we have committed to doing something new every day in 2021, and we're just getting started. Thank you for your support. Check us out at mostlysuperheroes.com to check out all of our content, and we'll see you next time on Mostly Superheroes.